Hello everyone and welcome to my review of
Thor Ragnarok.
Yes, the third installment in the Thor trilogy and the latest installment of the Marvel Cinematic Universe at the time I'm recording this. And if you're wondering what that thing behind me there is, that is my Halloween costume. Basically, my work are having a dress up for Halloween charity thing, and I decided to dress up as a pumpkin. It needs to be inflated, but I may record a Halloween review in the costume, so you know, keep an eye out for that. So, Thor Ragnarok. I've actually seen this movie twice now, because the first time I saw it, I wasn't quite sure how I felt about it, so I wanted to get a full sense of my opinion, and also it gave me a chance to rewatch the first two movies and give my opinions on those as well. I have seen and reviewed the first two films. They are on my channel, they're in the playlists, so if you want to hear my thoughts on those movies, check those out. So, Thor Ragnarok, directed by Taika Waititi. I don't know how you pronounce that. I apologise if that was incorrect. Basically, the story is that out of nowhere, Odin reveals that to Thor and Loki that they have a sister known as Hela, who is his firstborn child. I'll put a spoiler warning at the start of this. Sorry, I should have put spoilers. So this will be spoiler-filled, this review. Anyway, so yeah, the plot is that Odin reveals to Thor and Loki that their older sister, Hela, is coming back to overthrow Asgard and cause Ragnarok, which is the sort of the end of Asgard, essentially the Judgment Day, if you will, of Asgard. So once again, Thor must leap into action. He gets captured by these people from this planet called Cate, and he has to, in order to escape the planet, he has to confront a champion of the Grand Master, although we find out this is his old friend, Bruce Banner, or the Hulk. And then it pretty much goes on from there. Hela basically tries to, you know, overthrow Asgard, and then they have to stop her. That's pretty much it. There's not much else I can say about it. So, Thor Ragnarok. This movie has been getting quite a lot of praise in the press recently. It's the reviews have been raving about this movie. The critics seem to be really liking it. I have to say, guys, I was really disappointed with this film. Look, I'm not trying to bash Marvel. Look, I like Marvel. I think Marvel make some good movies, but recently they've been kind of getting themselves into a routine, which is go for the gag, essentially try and make things funny and light. And ever since Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, they've always tried to do that. Don't get me wrong, this isn't a bad movie, but for me, Thor Ragnarok, it's okay. It's okay, but I can't really sing its praises. Having rewatched the first two, I will say that this film is a little bit better than Thor: The Dark World, so I'll thank God for that. But I don't think this is really anything special. It's just another Marvel movie. They're all kind of getting recycled now. The biggest problem for me with Thor Ragnarok, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree with me on this, is, I know Harry Thomas agrees with me, the tonal whiplash. The fact that this movie's tone is so derivative of the first two really puzzles me. Like, I knew from the trailer we were going to get a sort of a more Guardians of the Galaxy-esque movie, and that's what we get. So I knew that it was coming, but I thought, what? It doesn't make sense to suddenly go from being more serious to more comedic. I'm not saying that the first two didn't have comedy. They did have quite a bit of comedy. But for me, this is so inconsistent. Like, what? I mean, why is this movie trying to be a Guardians of the Galaxy movie? The whole 80s vibe, and then the soundtrack to accompany with it. Even the look of this planet called Sakaar. It's like a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. What? What the fuck? It makes no sense. And I think this is just a knockoff of Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm sorry, it just is. I mean, the story is nothing. It's basically the end of the world again, and you know, I mean, what can I say? It's another disappointment, and the fact that they're trying to make Thor into a comedy character, it just doesn't work for me. I mean, Thor is a more serious character. I'm not saying that he isn't funny. He can be funny, but in this movie, they lay it on way too thick. The comedy is just overused. It's not even funny. I didn't really laugh in this movie. I mean, there was a couple of moments when I laughed, but not at Thor. More at the what's his name? The rock character, the South African rock, Korg. Korg, who's actually voiced by the director, funnily enough. But it's just another Marvel movie. I mean, it's certainly not terrible. I mean, there's some cool action, but this whole thing it just amounts to nothing. And you know, I will admit, the movie started out quite well. I did enjoy the opening scene when Thor was captured and chained up, and then he broke himself out. And then you had the Led Zeppelin song going, ah. I mean, that was cool. I didn't mind it when they used that song because that was awesome and it worked. But the rest of the movie is just it's tonally, it's all wrong. Thor is not meant to be comedic. This is not meant to be a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and that's what it felt like. And I'm sorry, it just doesn't work for Thor. Thor is meant to be a more serious character. You can make Thor, you know, you can give him some one-liners, fair enough, but not in every scene. You know, it loses that edge. It loses its individuality. The first movie was unique because it had a sense of mythology and a sense of, you know, evolution, you know, with the science and magic commentary. This has nothing. This has nothing going for it. And of course, I have to make mention of the villainess known as Hela, played by Cate Blanchett. I have to be quite a big fan of Cate Blanchett. I think she's a very, very attractive woman. She hasn't lost her looks. She's aged really well. And her villain was actually rather good. I thought, you know what, at least something good has come out of this, because, you know, she is really trying. She tries her absolute damnness with this role, and you know what, she does a damn good job. I mean, Malekith was a fucking nothing villain in the second movie, so this movie, it's nice to see a villain that is a little bit more fleshed out. I mean, there's not much to her. All her motivations are is revenge, really. I mean, but at least she played the character well and gave her a good, you know, gave her a good demeanor, shall we say? So she's quite good, and she definitely kicks some ass in the action sequences. The other cast, Chris Hemsworth as Thor, not for the third time, for however many times, I've lost count because he's been in the Avengers movies. I think it's for the 5th time. Yeah, he's good. I think he's good in this movie. Again, I just think it's not Chris Hemsworth's fault, but the script is way too comedic. And for his character, the way he's doing this whole voice, oh no, how could this happen? No, like, it's the fact that he tries to do that voice and make it funny. It just doesn't blend. It just doesn't work. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work. But I mean, that's not his fault. I know that he is just trying to give his best, and he does try, at least. Tom Hiddleston returns as Loki. Ultimately, it was pointless to have Loki in the movie. Don't know why he was in it. I guess people would have complained if he wasn't in it, so I guess they had to chuck him in there, but he didn't really add much to the story this time. I mean, at the beginning, I thought, okay, he's gonna, you know, I mean, he kind of redeems himself after his actions in the second film, because he faked his death. So Thor and Loki still have some making up to do, and they do that. So that's resolved pretty quickly. Idris Elba returns as Heimdall. Heimdall's on a very different quest of his own in this movie. He's evacuating all the Asgardians before Hela unleashes Ragnarok upon Asgard. And, you know, I think he does a good job, and we get to see more of him in action this time. He's not just standing there holding the sword and whatnot. We have a different guard who's called Scourge, who's played by Karl Urban. He's pretty good in the movie as well. I like his character. When he changes sides at the end, that was a pretty epic scene. Valkyrie was good. Tessa Thompson plays Valkyrie. Valkyrie, she was cool. She was interesting. Jeff Goldblum is in this movie as well as the Grand Master. I mean, Jeff Goldblum plays Jeff Goldblum, and Jeff Goldblum is very good at playing Jeff Goldblum in this movie. Moving on. So, and also we have to make mention of Bruce Banner, or the Hulk. Mark Ruffalo appears in the movie. I kind of like him in this film. I mean, the fight between him and Thor is pretty damn awesome. Probably one of the best scenes of the movie. Although when he turns to Bruce Banner, his character is just so different to how he is in the other films. He's a little bit more schizophrenic. He's kind of freaking out a lot. He doesn't know where he is. And ultimately, his inclusion to the story is kind of pointless, if you think about it, because all Thor needed him to do was just help him fight in the end, which is a shame. I think the structure of this movie could have been reworked. The first act is somewhat promising. It's somewhat good, and you're thinking, okay, it's going to lead somewhere. The third act is also awesome. The climax of the movie is pretty good. The throwdown at the end is good, and I do like that. But everything in the middle is so friggin' clunky. I mean, when we get to Sakaar, the movie just slows down to a sluggish pace. I just completely lost interest when we got there. I mean, other than the Hulk fight, of course, which was great. And when we see Korg, I mean, Korg was kind of funny. Korg was funny. But really, it was boring. It really bored me. And the scenes between Hulk and Thor, I was like, snooze, snore. We spend too damn long on that fucking planet, and consequently, the movie's too long. The movie's at least 10 minutes too long. Like, you should have put it dead on 2 hours. It was dragged out slightly. I also have to make mention of Benedict Cumberbatch. He makes a cameo appearance in this movie as Doctor Strange. That was a nice scene. I actually kind of wanted him to appear a bit more. I would have liked him to come in for the climax. It would have been nice for him to help out in the end. But I guess they're trying to save all of this for Infinity War. Ultimately, this story doesn't do diddly squat. It doesn't advance the MCU at all. It's just another Marvel movie that's there. And ultimately, it doesn't do anything for the Thor trilogy. It's because the tone is so derivative of the first two. I can't recommend you see this movie. It's all right. It's a bit of fun, you know, but you know, it's just not very good. I mean, from a design standpoint, it's great, and it looks just as good as the first two. Like, Asgard looks cool, and Sakaar does look great, but it looks too futuristic, and it looks too Guardians of the Galaxy too. It did remind me a lot of that, but it's certainly not a bad movie. Like I said, the performances are good. I did appreciate some of the cameos, and the action sequences are pretty awesome. It was a shame that Thor lost his hammer so early in the movie. I would have liked him to have actually got his hammer back at the end, but maybe they're doing that for Avengers Infinity War. And the post-credit scenes did nothing for me. I mean, one of them was interesting, but the other one was just like, well, what the hell? I'm not going to see this character again. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. I just think the direction isn't particularly sharp. Like, the story is nothing. It's not. I mean, it's a better story than the second movie, but I just lost interest. I lost interest in it. And you know, the movie's just trying too hard to be a comedy. I can't take it seriously. I just can't. Like, when the emotional moments are happening, I just can't take it seriously. And that's the biggest problem with Thor Ragnarok. You can't take it seriously. I'm not saying it has to be serious in every scene, but damn, at least, you know, damn, you know, at least have some element of seriousness in the movie. You know, it's like, why is everything such a joke to Marvel? Why is it always such a joke? Why do they have to keep making fucking, you know, jokes in all the movies? Like, oh, let's go for the punchline, go for the punchline. They did the same with Avengers 2. It was like, oh, let's try and make it more of a comedy. Although this one, not only does the tone change, but the music also changes. Look, don't hate me, guys, but the soundtrack for this movie is fucking awful! The soundtrack is so bad! And it does not fit with this movie whatsoever. Every time you do, What? What? Why would you do that in a Thor movie? Why? That doesn't fit. I can excuse the Led Zeppelin song. That was awesome. That worked. But that, it's like a techno fucking remix. That doesn't work. And I'm sorry, it's an awful soundtrack. Guardians of the Galaxy gets away with it because Guardians of the Galaxy makes a plot point out of having the music, with the tape recorder, obviously. And I think that, you know, that actually works in its favour. With Thor, it doesn't work. It wasn't established in the first two movies. Why would you do it here? Like, because of the tonal shifts, I can't recommend this movie. And by the end of it, I just thought, well, that was a waste of time. I just wasted my time watching this movie. It was pointless. It's a very mediocre movie, a very poor ending to the Thor trilogy. Again, the MCU keep falling into this same problem over reliance on nostalgia. I didn't mind Doctor Strange, but having the Hulk in the movie, you didn't need him. You didn't need him whatsoever. You know, it doesn't do diddly squat for me anyway. But despite all that, there is some fun action. You can have fun with it. It's a turn your brain off, you know, action nonsense film. And Hela was really cool. You got a cool villain, but don't expect anything great. It's just a fun romp of a movie, but it's not as good as some of the other movies this year that we've had. Guardians 2 was way better than this. Spider-Man Homecoming was way better than this. But despite all my problems, I will have to say, it is better than the second one. So that being said, I am going to give Thor Ragnarok a 5 out of 10. Yeah, I was really disappointed with this movie. I tried, I went back to see it again, I gave it another chance, but it was dull. It was dull. I nearly fell asleep. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, and it's 2 hours 10 minutes. It's too long. It's too long. But hey ho. If you like Thor Ragnarok, that's fine. If you love it, great. Good for you. I'm glad you saw things in it that I didn't, but I just didn't like it. It's not the worst MCU movie ever. No. That for me goes to the Incredible Hulk, but it's down there. What I might do before Avengers Infinity War, after Black Panther has come out, I will probably do a big, gigantic ranking of the MCU movies. I mean, I was never planning to do it before because there's like 3 every year, so there's no point. But I kind of feel like because Infinity War is like sort of an end of an era, like the sort of the climax of all of these 3 phases, it would be good to do a big, huge ranking. I'd do it in like 3 parts, obviously, because there's so many films. But I think I'll do that after Black Panther. Yeah, I'll do a big MCU ranking, and then after I see Infinity War parts 1 and 2, I'll update the ranking and slot them in. So, yeah, that's it. That's my review of Thor Ragnarok. Please leave a comment down below. Give this video a like. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Stay tuned for more reviews. I will probably be reviewing the Alien movies, given that it's Halloween. Woo! Okay, so until then, thank you all for watching, and as always, I'm Mr. Tyler11. See ya.